Mr. B, XRP here, and welcome back. It is early on Saturday morning, so I've got to keep my voice down low. But big day today on Saturday. Play pickleball for about 3 hours, and I love doing it. But I've got a great video for you today. I want to talk about mass adoption on the way. You're definitely going to want to see this. XRP inflows. I want to give you an update on that. And crypto firms in Wall Street are absolutely losing their patience with lawmakers here in the United States. Also, there's a Peter Schiff video I want to share with you, and you're definitely going to want to see this. So let's jump into the prices, and then let's jump into all the news. Looks like the crypto market's at a number 11 for extreme fear. So the lower the number, the more the fear. Yesterday it was 14, and it is a little bit higher today. Obviously, that Bitcoin price has got a lot of people nervous. My phone was ringing off the hook yesterday. But look, this is the way crypto is, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you can't get 30, 40, 50% gains, 100% gains if you can't handle 10, 12% losses. You gotta zoom out. All right. And I always tell people, look at the let's just use Bitcoin as the benchmark. Look at the Bitcoin yearly lows year to year. Forget about the highs. If you look at the yearly lows, it is absolutely a staircase over the years. So just take a look at that if you ever want to zoom out. All right, so let's get into the pricing. Bitcoin's at 83,975. Ethereum's at 2,725. Tether's holding comfortably at $1, and XRP's at $1.91, which I definitely want to see that start to get above $2. All right, I saw this yesterday on Twitter, and it says Verizon confirmed it will do its largest ever layoff in more than 13,000 employees, about 13% of its workforce, which is absolutely, it's horrible. By the way, I'm enjoying a beautiful hot coffee. It's Lavazza coffee. It is the best. If you've never had Lavazza coffee, check it out. I grind the beans and it is delicious. Okay, so look, layoffs are happening. It's the end of the year. We see this every year. Before we get started in all the crypto news, I just wanted to say, God forbid you get laid off, or if you have somebody got laid off, you can actually roll a 401k over into iTrustCapital into a crypto IRA, which I think is a great solution for that situation. Check out iTrustCapital. I have a link in the description of my video. Anybody who opens up a new account with iTrustCapital using my link, you'll get a $100 funding bonus, which is very helpful. And so rolling 401ks, opening up new IRAs, traditional Roth. I mean, just you've got to look into IRAs. If you don't have an IRA, take the time and make it your goal in the new year to look into IRAs. And also they have the PCA account, which is a premium custody account, which is institutional grade custody in a non-IRA account. So check out iTrustCapital, use the link, please, and I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's jump into it. So this was from Nate Garassi, and he said, you either believe in crypto's future or you don't. Short-term price action shouldn't change that. It's truly that simple. And that's just, I agree 100%. You just have to zoom out sometimes and take a look at the market over a 1 year period of time, and don't get bogged down with this downturn, because I personally think that it's temporary. There's no guarantee, but I personally think that we're going to rebound here. This also, it was in the news yesterday, just in Fed rate cut back on the shelf. So look, it said the Fed may cut rates again in December after unemployment surged beyond expectations. Market odds for a quarter rate point cut. It was, let's see, Thursday it was 39%. Now the odds are 73%. Like, they've gone through the roof. So Powell really has to wake up and lower rates. And that will really help spark the economy here in the United States, because we got to get rates down. We got to get houses moving. I mean, when houses start moving, so many people make money on the sale of a house. You've got realtors and mortgage companies and home inspectors and renovators and contractors and new carpet and new furniture, and there's so much money that moves in this country off of real estate transactions that getting those rates down is really going to help move real estate. It's going to do a lot of things, but real estate's one of the big ones. All right, Justin Trump, also President Trump, to decide the next Federal Reserve chair before Christmas. So we're going to find out who's going to replace Powell, which I can't wait to find out. All right, so jumping into the big news here, ETF flows. On November 20th, spot ETF flows recorded 903.11 million in BTC outflows. and 261 million in Ethereum outflows. And then Solana saw 23.66 million and XRP saw 118 million, both in inflows. So money's moving out of Bitcoin and moving out of Ethereum and moving into Solana and XRP. So interesting stuff. We've got big week for XRP. We have some really monster ETFs that are going to go live next week. I think it's Franklin Templeton's going to go live next week, and I think Grayscale. So those are two monsters, which I'm really excited about. Okay, this is an interesting video. This is Stephen McClurg, and he is the CEO over at Canary Capital. So, okay, in case the case for meme coin, NTF, NFT ETFs isn't about market predictions; it's about autonomy. So, he's talking about their upcoming ETF, and I want you. Here's how to say you're not into Bitcoins without saying you're not. I mean, you're not into meme coins. It's early, guys. You're not into meme coins without saying you're not into meme coins. Listen to his pitch on his company's new product coming out.
The one that I'm most interested in seeing is some of the meme coin and some of the NFT ETFs coming, because I think we've got a Doge ETF coming, not us, but the market is, and I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out. And we, of course, have filed for a couple of meme coin and NFT ETFs, which, look, I believe, that's the future. A lot of people don't understand an ETF is. Most of the time, it's a vehicle that allows people to make investments. Doesn't mean that I'm bullish, doesn't mean that I'm bearish. It means that I'm creating an opportunity for people to do what they want to with their money. And it's none of my business what they do with their money. The one that
he's obviously not very personally. You could just see if you see his face, he's not very supportive. I'm not a meme coin person. I don't like it. For me, it's part of the greater fool theory. There's no utility there. But I don't think he really supports, he's not really into it. But look, his company's going to sell it. If people want it, his company's going to sell it. So I thought that was interesting. All right, here's a quick soundbite of Michael Saylor speaking with Charles Payne over there at Fox Business. And let's dip into what Michael Saylor had to say.
Bitcoin's been around for 15 years. It's had 15 major drawdowns. It's always come back to a new all-time high. If you zoom out, this is just par for the course. This is normal in the life cycle of an emergent transformational asset class. And it's a healthy thing. It clears out the tourists, the leverage, and the weak holders, and sets the basis for the next rally upward.
Yeah, he's under a lot of pressure right now with his stock, and there's a lot of people out there, shouting and screaming and making all kinds of insinuations. But he's out there continuing to believe in Bitcoin. So here's somebody, Peter Schiff, the gold bug, right? He was quiet for a while, and then he started getting loud again when gold started doing really good. But he's drooling right now with Bitcoin doing so poorly. So let's listen in. Let's dip into Peter Schiff and see what Peter Schiff has to say.
And I think all these Bitcoin treasury companies that have been buying Bitcoin are going to be selling their Bitcoin, because all these companies are going bankrupt. They don't have a viable business. Right? If you set up a business and your whole business model is buying Bitcoin, you don't have a business. Anybody can buy Bitcoin. They don't need a company to do it for them. It's so nonsense. And of course, the poster boy for this ridiculous business model is MicroStrategy or strategy. And strategy is going to blow up. I mean, their premium has already vanished. So they barely traded a premium now to their Bitcoin. It's going to be trading at a discount. Right now, the stock is already down 65% from where it was a year ago, and it's going to continue to implode. I think that strategy is going to lose access to the capital markets. It's been able to sell stock and sell preferred. I think all that's going to stop. And of course, the minute strategy is trading at a discount, it can no longer generate a Bitcoin yield.
It's not that Peter isn't right. It's just he's been waiting for this moment for years, and I could just see the drool coming down his lip. He's so excited and so happy about it. We'll see what happens with strategy, MicroStrategy, but Peter's having his day with gold right now. All right, so this was a Twitter Spaces, and it was very exciting. It was about, it was about the future of the XRP ledger and growth in the future. And then David Schwartz lays it out, and I just think this is a tremendous clip to listen to on future adoption of the XRP ledger, and blockchain overall. But listen to this.
If you hold Bitcoin, any counter narrative to Bitcoin you perceive as like a threat to your bottom line. And so I think there was that early tribalism. I think that's going away. And I think people realize that, like, if you want the ecosystem is going to have to succeed. Just like there couldn't be a world where there's only one successful internet company, it's almost inconceivable that there's a world where there's only one successful blockchain or only one successful DeFi. It's just inconceivable. It's either the space is going to succeed or it's not. And I think people are realizing that the space is going to succeed. I think XRP occupies a unique niche kind of between Bitcoin and Ethereum. XRP is the first blockchain built on any, that wasn't a clone of Bitcoin or Bitcoin itself. Dates back to 2012. Doesn't use proof of work. It uses what we now call proof of association. It was the first ledger, to have tokenized assets, at the time called issued assets, used for things like stable coins. It has a native decentralized exchange to allow people to move between assets. I think the value proposition of the XRP ledger for XRP is a curated set of financial primitives. So rather than the sort of free-for-all of platforms with smart contracts or the very, very limited functionality of something like Bitcoin, the XRP ledger has a set of financial primitives to provide, useful services. We see it as a public good. We see it as something that you sort of can't partition off or own. And these features include things like escrow, decentralized identifiers, decentralized exchange, and so on. And so it's a platform for enterprises to do business. So XRP has a unique position on the XRP ledger. It's the only asset that you can use to pay fees. It's the only asset that everyone can hold. It's the only asset without a counterparty. It's used as a...
Are you hearing all this utility? I mean, the XRP ledger is just incredible. The amount of utility that's being built on the XRP. If you're not seeing this, I can't show it to you. I mean, it is absolutely by far, Ethereum has the most projects on it. I grant it that, but it's still too slow and too expensive compared to XRP, and the amount of things that are being built on the XRP ledger, there's no comparison. And I continue on. There's about another minute here.
Bridge asset when two tokens don't have a direct trading pair. So if you're trading between two assets where there aren't a whole bunch of people who want to trade in the other direction, the network will automatically route the trade through XRP to improve speed or pricing. You don't necessarily see it as a user, but XRP does work behind the scenes to make those markets more efficient, and you see that as an XRP holder in the form of increased liquidity and increased ability to trade.
Looking ahead in 5 years' time, where do you both see XRP ultimately fitting into the global financial stack?
I think what's going to happen is over the next couple of years, that institutional adoption is going to make possible a mass retail adoption. I think you're going to...
Oh, what happened here?
See blockchain technologies replacing significant fractions of traditional finance for ordinary people as soon as it can provide the products and services that they need. If you think about what the financial products and services people need, like they need loans, they need sensible investments. As soon as blockchains can provide that, I think people will see the benefit of having a sort of open system, kind of like how the internet replaced proprietary information movement systems. So I think we're going to see that growth of retail DeFi just turbocharged by the enterprise adoption we're seeing now.
Guys, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And look, I'm going to end the video here, but let me say a couple things before I do. And I had some more stuff to go through, but I'm going to save it for my next video. Look, I had some friends over for dinner last night, and they started talking about digital assets, and they're older folks, and they're in their late 70s, and they don't understand, Bitcoin, and they kept asking me about Bitcoin and about, how is it going to be used as money? And I think people who don't understand digital assets and blockchain are bogged down by trying to understand. They're afraid of CBDCs. They heard about CBDCs in Europe, and they were talking to me about that last night. And I think they're missing the greater point here, which is the use case of blockchain. Blockchain is going to tokenize every financial instrument in the world. And also not only financial instruments, but also, property and art and all of these things are going to be tokenized. The greater use case for blockchain is going to be the tokenization of real world assets. Will we use digital money here in the United States? Eventually we will. Hopefully it won't be a CBDC. I don't want anybody programming my money and tell me what I could spend my money on, or telling me it's going to expire in 2 days and I have to spend my money. I don't want that. But people don't, especially outside the space, they don't understand it. And one of the things I had to drive home the point last night when I was explaining blockchain to them, and is that, look, it's an amazing opportunity. If we can go back in time, I told them, if we can go back in time, now that you know what you know about the internet, and I told you 5 days before the internet was launched, now that you know what you know about the internet, if you can invest in the protocol of the internet, would you want to do that? And they're like, well, of course I'd want to do that. I said, well, right now, if you invest in the right blockchains and you pick the right ones, you're investing in the future of finance, the rails that the future of finance is going to be built on, because there isn't any of those financial instruments that can move on any of those blockchains without using the tokens of those blockchains. And that is the point you need to make with people. So, look, I wasn't going to talk about my training program, but look, I have a training program to teach people. I did an educational program to teach people about blockchain and digital assets. It's at cryptocoachnick.com. If you want to take a look at it, take a look at it. If you want to tell your family and friends, I'll probably talk about it more tomorrow. And I have a discount code in the description of this video. There's a link to it and a discount code for 25% off. But if you want to help people understand digital assets and why blockchain is the future, and you have a hard time explaining it because it can be difficult, or you're just tired of doing it, let me do it for you at cryptocoachnick.com. And listen, this was great. I hope you have a great Saturday, a fantastic weekend. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. Share my videos with anybody you think might appreciate them. If you're still here, you're my people. Thank you for being my people. I'm glad you're here. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research. See you next time. Bye-bye.